Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of True Dungeon Talk with Trent. My name is Trent of TrentTokens.com. I'm a really big fan of the game called True Dungeon and a very avid collector of tokens, which you can see back here. Today is a very special episode. I'm interviewing David Haas. He's a longtime volunteer and player of True Dungeon, and he has a real-life job as well, which I can't wait to hear more about. So without further ado, let's introduce the man, the myth, and the amazing legend, David Haas. Say hello to David.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, the audience loves you.
Look at all the love from the audience.
Oh, my God. It's a packed house. It's a packed house. Of course, the tickets were free, but don't tell anybody that. Welcome, David. Okay. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Trent. Thanks for having me on this.
Oh, man. If people knew how many times we emailed back and forth and rescheduled this, I think you were supposed to be on the show like a year and a half ago. I really do.
It's been a while, but, you know, good things come to those who wait, right?
That's right. And we are definitely having some good stuff today. So let's say hello to a couple of people in the chat. Snake Eyes, hello. Oh, Souk Trent, that's my wife. She says break a leg. Thank you. Thomas, hello. It's so good to see you guys. All right, so I like to start out the show with some icebreaker questions. Are you ready?
I am ready to go.
Okay, so just be honest with me here. Here we go. Oh, I forgot the algorithm stuff. Damn it, I'm a horrible YouTuber. For all you people watching, please click like and share and subscribe and all that other good stuff. Sorry. Yeah, do YouTube stuff. All right, let's go to icebreaker questions. Here we go, David. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. First, favorite color?
I'm going to have to go with green.
Okay, that's correct. Favorite book or movie?
You know, I have a very eclectic movie taste, but I'd have to go with probably Princess Bride, although I love a lot of Bond movies and Star Wars, and pretty much I'll watch most anything, even rom-coms. So, I mean, I have a large eclectic mix of movies I like.
Those are all correct. I'm a huge fan of rom-coms. I cried almost every one. I'm a big old teddy bear inside. So speaking of Princess Bride, have you seen some of those YouTube clips where a few celebrities are doing like little scenes from it?
I haven't seen those. I know we had tickets to Carrie Elways is on tour where you watch the movie at a big theater and he sort of talks about things, and it's been rescheduled twice. So it was supposed to be Valentine's Day, and then it was supposed to be last month, and now it's moved to June. But so we're really excited because it's my wife's favorite movie too. So
that's
we're really
cool.
excited to go.
Yeah, check out. I'm not sure how to find it. Maybe Google Jack Black. I know he's in it, and the Mandalorian guy. He's done some scenes. So I don't know if it's just them and a few people, but it's kind of funny. They recreate the scenes, and it's kind of funny.
Yeah,
so check it out.
Look at that.
All right. So last show you binge watched.
You know, we got done binge watching Picard season 2 to get ready. We haven't started Picard season 3 yet, but that was probably the last one we've been binge watched.
That is the correct answer. It's such a good show. I love it. All right, cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Okay, that's acceptable. Name of your first pet?
My first pet was a Cocker Spaniel named Spanky.
Oh, my God. I thought you said you like dogs. That's a cat.
No, that was a dog.
All right. Well, the jury's still out on that one. Favorite type of music?
You know, I like a lot of music, but I'd have to say my jam is late 70s, early 80s sappy love songs and yacht rock kind of stuff. I'm totally a hopeless/hopeful romantic, and so that's sort of my jam. I get teased about it all the time.
Karen Carpenter, that kind of category?
Oh, yeah. Carpenters are great.
Wow. Who would have thunk it? See, aren't you glad you tuned into this show to hear this about David? Don't make fun of him, okay? It's all right. He can like any kind of music he likes. But that answer was incorrect. Favorite food?
Favorite food, barbecued pork ribs.
Correct. Favorite hobby?
Favorite hobby would, watching baseball, since I don't play it anymore. But baseball or Guild Wars 2 is probably my big hobbies right now.
Also correct answer, Guild Wars 2. I played that. I played a bunch of other MMOs. Do you have any other favorite MMOs you like?
We played Elder Scrolls Online for a while, and I liked that. That was probably the only other one. I don't do a whole lot of other MMOs, though.
I see. I couldn't get into that one. My old school jam is Dark Age of Camelot. Oh man, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but if you haven't played a bunch, it's okay. That's a good one. They're coming out. That same guy who did that is coming out with another one. I can't wait for that one. Some people are calling it Dark Age of Camelot 2, but what's it called? Somebody in the chat might know. I don't remember, but it's going to be good, whatever it is. Speaking of saying hello,
I save all my money for tokens, which is why I love Guild Wars series, because it's no subscription, so I can save my money for tokens.
I hear you there. I know. I was just emailing back and forth with somebody today. He sold some tokens on my website, then bought some tokens on my website, and just said it's the circle of token life. And I say, well, I just send it to Jeff and True Dungeon, so it's definitely the circle of life. So I think we're all doing that same circle of life here. So let's say hello to a couple other people. Brad, hello. Jeff Martin. Oh, Jeff Martin. Speaking of Jeff, we're sending you money, Jeff. He says, I want to be like David Haas when I grow up. Don't we all?
Oh.
Charleston says, I can make fun of him all I want. Hi, Dad. Uh-oh. I think that might be one of your children there.
Charlie is the 6'3" youngest of my kids.
So, yeah, speaking of that, I've got some photos, and the kids kind of grow up, and Charlie kind of sprouted there. So, hi, Charlie. David, he says he's late, but that's okay. Thomas says he played Dark Age of Camelot for years. Oh, man, that was good stuff. All right, so speaking of good stuff, I've got some photos here, and I want to share my screen / show you and me looking at photos. So let's start at the beginning. Who is this, and when is this?
Gosh, this is me probably at about 4 years old, I guess. I grew up in St. Louis, in West County in St. Louis, and this is I think at my grandparents' house in Carlinville, Illinois.
Wow. So do you come from a big family? How many siblings, etc.?
Yeah, it's a big extended family. My mom was one of 9, and her mom was one of 9, and I was the oldest of all the grandkids. I have 3 younger sisters, and a ton of cousins. So we were always around a lot of family.
So do you consider yourself a big family man? Do you like lots of kids and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I like kids. We have many kids.
Speaking of liking kids, that your job is we're going to hold that for the people who might not know. But oh man, it's awesome. All right, so speaking of where kids come from and how kids start, who's this lovely lady?
So that lovely lady is my wife. That my wife Tanya. That was actually the night we got engaged.
Wow.
Which, oh my gosh, it was. I was probably, I know I look calm, cool, and collected, but I was terrified that night. But not because I thought she was going to say no. I was terrified because we were so young. I was 20 and she was 18. And so she was visiting over the summer in college. We had, I planned this all out. I called this really nice restaurant in St. Louis, told them what I was going to do, and decided to take a chance and pre-ordered a bottle of wine, hoping to God that they wouldn't check my ID when I got there and be horribly embarrassed. But it was great. We had a great time, and you can see the champagne glasses that the waiter brought over to us. It was really fun. I don't know if she was expecting it or not, but that was the night we got engaged, and we will be married 30 years in June.
Wow, congratulations. What a beautiful thing. Oh man, I'm not sure who's more lucky, you or her, but maybe it's a half and half.
I'm the lucky one.
Oh, you're going to say you're the lucky one?
Every day of the week, I'm the luckiest one.
I hear you there. I consider myself way past lucky with my beautiful wife. So now for the people who are close to our age, a little younger, about our age, or a little older, I think I'm older than you. I know this tie, and I know this dress, and I know these hairstyles. So I probably have this tie in my closet. Do you still have this tie?
I do still have that tie. That was one of the first ties I got when I started in high school working at TJ Maxx.
Now, let's see if we really do have the same exact tie. I know that. Welcome to the show, where we talk about ties. It's the best show ever. Do you have the matching suspenders that came with this tie?
No, I never was a suspender guy.
Did you ever see the suspenders that came with this tie? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't. Yeah, I know. I don't think I saw the suspenders. I think I just
Okay.
had the tie.
It's literally the same design. It looks so ridiculous, but I thought it looked so cool. And then I remember looking back at photos where I'm wearing this tie and those suspenders. It's not a good look. Yeah,
Doesn't hold up.
it does not age well. Now, speaking of the wedding, I assume that's what this is.
That's what that is.
Oh
that
my
was the wedding.
You
Yep.
look so cute and baby faced here. You by the way, you haven't aged much. You're doing something right.
I have good genes.
Yeah, I can see that. I've got a couple of good pair of khakis, but that's about it. That's a joke in case people there don't know. By the way, TB is that Taras? Taras, is that you? Say hello to your sister. Who is this, and what handsome uniform is this?
Well, that was when I first got into the Navy. So I signed up and joined the Navy to pay for medical school. And that was the summer after my first year of medical school when I had to go to officer indoctrination school in Newport, Rhode Island. And I got to try to dress up like an officer and a gentleman.
Yeah, this is a very cool outfit here. And so this is obviously an ensign. And
Yep.
What's your rank now for those of you who understand ranks?
So I'm a commander, which is an 05. So it's like a lieutenant colonel in the other services in the reserves. And I just last week actually turned in the last of my points that hopefully will get me able to retire finally.
Wow, what a huge accomplishment. Congratulations. And, so I salute you, and I would have to salute you because I was enlisted.
Okay.
So yeah, I think we talked about that. Did you know I was in the Navy?
Yeah, I knew you were in the Navy.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, this show's about you. All right. So speaking of being a doctor, so we just said that. So I'm so amazed that a normal human. So here's what's happening. Maybe you can help me out here. Either a normal human is somehow goes through some transformation and becomes a gamer and does this gaming thing with True Dungeon. So when I see you out and we're playing True Dungeon, I picture you as a gamer, and we're all kind of special in our own ways, and we're automatically, I think, not to speak for everybody, but I feel like we all are just automatically accepting of each other, etc. And I find sometimes the real world is a little tough to just be myself, right? But you're a doctor in the real world, and you have a real job and all that other stuff. How do you do both? And maybe that's the first question. And also, where do you feel most comfortable?
Ooh, that's a very multi-part question.
Yeah.
I think I've always been sort of into gaming and learned to play Dungeons and Dragons. Some kid across the street had it and got us indoctrinated into it. We used to, with my best friend growing up, we used to go outside and play, we'd put on some homemade suits of armor and do outdoor D&D, which is kind of probably why I like True Dungeon so much, is because it reminds me
cosplay in the early days
growing up. But I don't know, I just always kind of wanted to be a doctor, and I didn't see that the two were going to be mutually exclusive. So I do my work thing, and then I come home and play.
Okay, that's cool. So as a doctor, as wanting to be a doctor, I assume clearly you knew there were many, many, many types of doctors out there. How did you choose the type of doctor that you are?
It was interesting. I went into medical school and told my wife I did not want to be a pediatrician because I didn't want to deal with kids all the time.
Okay.
And I didn't want to be an OBGYN because I didn't want to deal with women all the time. And then I got through, and my last rotation as a third-year med student was OBGYN. Halfway through the rotation, I came home and I said, I think I want to do this. And she doesn't remember laughing at me. I clearly remember her laughing at me.
Well, I'm laughing now because you were doing the thing you said you didn't want to do.
It had everything that I wanted in medicine. I loved to operate. I get to do surgery. I get to do some primary care, and I get to deliver babies. And there is, I don't know, I tell you, there is nothing better for my soul than being a part of that moment in a family's life. And having, a small role in that is just so cool. And I love it so much. And it's why I can't give it up. It's just so cool. And she said, you've been more excited to talk about your days on this rotation and what you did at work than you had before.
Oh,
So I had to change my entire rest of my rotation schedule, and I went into OBGYN in the Navy and loved it ever since.
wow, that is awesome. So this is all connecting and making sense to me. I know of you being a very kind and generous person, and a volunteer, and just a cool dude. And here you are, your musical tastes, your sweet gestures with your wife, and now this rotation information. It all makes sense. And speaking of making sense, let me show you and everybody this. Here you are doing that kind of work. Can you tell us what's happening here?
So measuring the fundal height. So it's basically when people come in for their prenatal care, we sort of measure their abdomen to see how big the baby's growing.
Interesting. So maybe you can. Oh, by the way, for everybody who's listening, I have one doctor's phone number, direct phone number on my phone, and it's David's. So I'm gonna, if anyone has any, prenatal questions or any type of questions, just let me know, and I'll text them to David.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Trent, it's probably not going to do you too much good to have a gynecologist's phone number.
Well, I'm just happy because it's doctors just don't give out their numbers, at least the ones that I've seen. So this is super, super cool. I kind of think if I was smart enough to be a doctor, that would probably be a very cool profession. So this is super cool to hear that you found this because you loved it. And I assume when you were doing the rotations, you were rotating and following different type of areas, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we rotate through internal medicine, general surgery, peds, psychiatry, neurology, all of that.
Wow. Now, what's happening here?
So I'm probably teaching some of the residents. So I work at the medical school, and I love to teach and train the next generation of OBGYNs. And so we're looking at a fetal heart tracing on labor and delivery. And I think that's honestly, as I was looking through in this picture, I think this is why I love volunteering at True Dungeon so much and doing coaching, is because I get to teach, and it's sort of what I love to do.
Wow, very cool. Yeah, I wish I had time to volunteer, but I don't. So, and I've told Jeff this many times that I wish I could, but what I do is kind of my version of volunteering, like this show, or at conventions I try to give away things. So it's basically my version, and this is your version. You like to teach, you like to coach. So speaking of that, let's jump to, I have some questions. Let me go back to this screen here. Give me 1 second to go here. So speaking of questions, if anyone in chat has questions, let them rip. Go ahead. Gilstrife says that he can only volunteer maybe once a year, but I'm sure that once a year is very, very welcomed. Without the volunteers, I think, True Dungeon just wouldn't be the same. Okay, so you play True Dungeon and you also volunteer, right? Now, which one did you do first?
So I played first. The first time I played was in 2008. I wanted to play in 2007, but I wandered in too late. I was actually post call. I was on call on a Saturday, and then Sunday morning I knew Gen Con was in town, and I walked downtown, and I had heard about True Dungeon. I can't remember where, but they were tearing it down. I'm like, oh, you don't have anyone on Sunday.
Oh, you went on a Sunday. Is that did I hear that right?
Yeah, it was on Sunday, and they were already tearing it down.
Oh, no.
And so I was like, okay, well, maybe next year. And then the next year, in 2008, we were still in the Marriott, and I went and I couldn't get tickets, and so I got on a waiting list and waited for an hour and a half, and got one run, had like just the classic story, right? You had the 10-pack of tokens was all I had. I was in a group, I knew no one, but we sort of traded a few tokens. I played a barbarian because it was easy to do with almost 0 tokens, and just loved it, absolutely loved it.
Oh man, it's kind of like your first taste of the most amazing food ever.
Yeah.
Um, oh yeah, what I'm just trying to relive that moment in my mind. When you played that year, you only played one run, is that right? So
Yeah,
this
one
would have
run.
been '09,
No, it was 2008.
'08. Now, when you came back, did you play again in 2009?
Yeah, so interesting. I was thinking about this. In 2009 was True Realm in Carbondale. And this is how awesome of a wife and kids I have. So I decided I wanted to go to True Realm on our way from Indianapolis, where we were living, to St. Louis to see my parents. So we drove through Carbondale. My wife took the kids. We had four at that time. Um, Took the kids to a park while I went and did True Realm, and then I came out and they got back in the car and we we went to the rest of the way to St.
Wow.
Louis. So I did one run at True Realm and then did at Gen Con in 2009. And I think I was trying to look back through the records, but I think 2009 is actually the first year then that I volunteered because it was just so cool.
Really, really,
Yeah.
wow. So, when you volunteered, what was your first position or duty?
I started off helping with the build, because I live in the Indianapolis area. So it was putting up, I know Jeff's last one, he was talking about the cave walls that had sort of the stuck on stone looking things. I
Hmm.
was having flashbacks to that when he was showing those pictures. But yeah, I would hang up cave walls, and I'm only 5'11", so it's not the easiest thing. I had to get up on step stools. Um, but did that, and then I don't know whether it was that year or the following year that was the first year I was a coach assistant. I remember being an assistant coach still when there were, the big like wooden antlers that held all of the cards, all the class cards on it, because I had to run them back and forth
Hmm.
between epilogue and the coaching room. So I'm not I and that was, I think, still in the Marriott. So I think that was 2009, or 2010. And then after that, I loved it and said I think I could be a coach. I think that first year when I was assistant coach, Raven was one of the coaches I think I worked with. She was like one of the
Cool.
first. She and Incognito were like the first two major volunteers that I really interacted with, and they just totally got me, you know, hooked on it. And the rest is history. And so then I was a coach the following year, and I sort of do this hybrid schedule now, where I do sort of 2/3 of build and then 2/3 of coach. Um,
Hmm.
so it's fun. I love it. And then I think it was, I can't remember what year it was that Jeff dragged me on to Mike Lutz's, Power Crew, but it was probably 2015 ish. And so on the Tuesday and Wednesday of setup, I'm with the power crew. We run all the power cables,
Hmm.
make sure everything's got electricity, and deal with radios and all sorts of fun stuff. But that's been fun. So doing that 2 days, then coach 2 days, and then get Saturday off so I could run and do things with my kids at Gen Con.
Wow. I was about to ask, how do you do both? But there's the answer. You
Yeah,
do
so
a
the
mixture.
luckily, Jeff and Lori have been awesome, to me, and accommodating to me, which has been really cool. So they let me have that Saturday to do stuff with the kids, but they get 4 full days of work, whereas normal full time shift is only 3. So I
Oh,
think we're both getting a good end of that
come
stick.
on. Yeah, come on. Give him another half day off. So how far away is Gen Con from where you live now? How do you get there? Do you like
So
stay
I,
at the
I live in
hotel?
in Carmel, which is just the first northern suburb of Indy, and I actually work downtown.
Oh.
So I work in downtown Indy. A couple of years I actually walked from the hospital I work at over to Gen Con. So it's not far at all.
Wow, that's lucky for you, and I think lucky for them as well.
It's fun. I love being close.
Awesome. So now, as a player, do you have a favorite story of a moment in time that you would like to share with us?
One of the I think it's poignant now because I'm in the process of listening to Will Wheaton's "Still Just a Geek," his update of "Just a Geek," and it's such a great book, and I would highly recommend listening to it instead of reading it because he throws all these extra audio things in.
Hmm.
Um, which are really, really cool insights into, his relationship with Star Trek and a lot about mental health. And he's really open and honest about depression and anxiety and mental health in this country. I'll stand on my soapbox for a minute. Mental health is totally not respected enough in this country or funded enough. And we don't have enough therapists, but I'll get beyond that. But the reason this is relevant, sorry, I go off on tangents all the time. The reason it's relevant is because one of the first golden ticket runs I was lucky enough to go on, I think it was the year that there was a silver ticket run. Also, they had extra ones that they threw in, and in the opening sort of preamble room, I'm sitting there with some of the other folks, and all of a sudden this barbarian comes out to sort of introduce that run, and it was Will Wheaton, and I'm like, for a minute, I'm like, that's Will Wheaton. That's Will Wheaton, and it was just really kind of a cool moment where I thought, boy, True Dungeon really has got these people who really love it a lot, like I do, and like all those other folks do. And it was kind of a cool moment, I thought, in my evolution of playing.
Wow. So you were a fan then, and it must have been really a treat. Wow. Yeah. I wonder what year that was, because there's the dragon. He's got the dragon heart. I think that's a 2011 token. So maybe it was 2010, if I had to guess.
The first golden ticket I did, I was able to hawk and trade a whole bunch of old tokens and some cash to Brad Mortensen to get a golden ticket, was I think 2012. This one may not have been for a few years later.
Okay.
I can't remember which one it was.
Okay, so it must not have been when he was when he played.
No, I think it was after they had killed Smoke and he had the will.
Okay. That's what I was trying to connect the dots. Yeah. Wow, what a great story. I'm so glad that you shared that. All right, so now as a volunteer, what is your coolest memory that you can recall?
The things that I love as a volunteer are when I'm like, when I get to go on, this is going to sound weird, when I get to go on break. That's not one of my favorite moments.
The break
but
is the
as
best
a coach,
part of
I love as a
volunteering.
coach when you're bringing new players in. Like that is my favorite thing, is when I ask, when I'm starting a room and I, has anybody never played before? And I love it when there's lots of hands, because then it's like, well, welcome to True Dungeon. We get to be the first people. We hope this is the best experience you have at Gen Con for the whole weekend. And just kind of helping bring them along and introduce them to the game and describing what they're going to encounter and all the cool people. What really I love then is when I go on break and I go around and there's groups that I've coached who are now coming out of Epilogue, and they are so much full of smiles and they're excited and they're chatting about, oh, this puzzle and oh, this combat was so cool. And one of them, the year that there were the crazy good treasure boxes, and I had somebody who drew one of the rings of heroism before you could make it, and they were like a brand new player, and so then we got to talk to them, and it was just, that I think is the most fun I have. I love bringing people who are new into it, showing them the love that we all have for this community, and the community that Jeff and Lori and all the volunteers have built over the years. And that makes me happy. And that's why, volunteering at Gen Con is exhausting from a physical and a mental state, but it's so rewarding and sort of fills my cup back up. And that's why I love it and keep doing it.
Wow. That's what a special treat. I feel like we're getting a peek inside your soul, your kind soul. So thank you so much for sharing with us. For speaking of new people, for someone who might watch this video in the future, who might be new to True Dungeon, or maybe has never played, how would you describe True Dungeon? How do you describe True Dungeon to someone who's never heard of it? What's your description? What I started, because I was thinking about this for a long time, and what I've started describing it, and I've heard other people describe it this way now too, but I tell them this is like a series of 12-minute escape rooms with a Dungeons and Dragons theme. And to get out of each set of escape rooms, you either have to kill a monster or solve a puzzle.
and work together to solve the puzzle, kill the monster, or else you get pushed out of the room and into the next escape room that you're in.
That's very succinct. I think you've probably said something similar before. I like it. I think we need to get a recording of that. That's quite nice. All right, so I think I want to show some more photos here. You've got some very cool photos that you shared with me. So give me 1 second here. I click this and this. All right, now who is this little bundle of joy?
So that is Kelly. Many of you know Kelly. I roped her into volunteering long ago. That was her early versions of cosplay during Halloween when she dressed up as the snake. It was probably foreshadowing the Viper's Pit that she ran at one point.
Oh, I think you might be right. I thought this was a crocodile, but it's a snake.
No, it's a snake.
Now I see it with the tongue there. Wow, that's really cool. So this is Halloween. All right, Now speaking of family, this is quite the brood here.
So those are the 6 kids. Yep, those are the 6 kids. Yeah, Charlie is the baby on Tanya's lap.
How's that possible? Charlie's enormous now.
It's because I'm old, Trent. I'm old. Our youngest is 18.
Wow.
We started when we were only 2 years old, though. So
yeah, that's totally fine. I understand. Well, this is a beautiful family, and I think we got a couple more here in the family department. Now, where's this?
That's Niagara Falls on the Maid of the Mists. We had a blast. We went on a great trip with my sister and her kids and my parents, and drove through parts of Canada, and we had a great time at the Niagara Falls.
Awesome. I have never done this thing, but I've seen it. It's quite a spectacle to see if you've
It's
never
fun.
seen it.
I hadn't done it before either, and it was just fun to do as a family.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So let's see. Brad here says volunteering is a special thing. Thank you so much for doing it each time. So I agree. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. I love it.
Yeah, and for anyone in the chat, if you have any questions, just go ahead and throw them in the chat. All right, so now this is we should have done maybe a before and after. Who's this?
So that's Kelly. That is her first True Dungeon run when she was 13. So in the day, you had to be they wanted you to be 13 before you did a True Dungeon run because there was so much stuff going on in the dungeon. So
sure.
I was, who was it? I think it was Brad who also accused me of being very lawful good about the rules. And so I made Kelly wait till she was 13. This is her first True Dungeon run in 2012.
Wow. Very
She had a blast
cool.
and has kept coming back ever since.
Oh, my Lord. Now, would you say of all the kids, she's the biggest fan?
Probably. She's been doing it the longest. Our oldest, Andrew, didn't really do it. And so Kelly has, and Jack, who I think that's the next picture, is Jack's first True Dungeon run 2 years later. Yep, that was Viper's
right
Pit. So Jack is the second from the right, right in front of me, and Kelly was on that one too. And this is just a pickup group. I don't quite know everybody else in the group, but we had a blast, and that was Jack's first run, and he's volunteered a few times as well. And when Charlie turned 13, he went on a run, and he volunteered for the first time last year. He was at Gen Con. He was the colored square machine box that you put the squares in and they turn a different color. So he was behind the scenes doing that.
Wow. You guys are just a True Dungeon family. That's so awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of a True Dungeon family.
Yep. So I try to get a whole run for my kids and their friends. So that's Kelly and a bunch of Kelly's friends from high school and ones that she games with. And then her fiance is just over her shoulder. That's to me, it looks to her left, my right. With the goatee. That's Jared, her fiance, who plays now with us all the time.
This is Jared.
And the aforementioned Charlie is the one just to the left of that, who's like other side.
The other left.
Who's the tallest one in the picture now.
Yeah, look at that. He
was the one who was on Tanya's lap before.
Oh my God, he sprouted. Oh, he's taller than you by a good 5 inches, maybe?
Yep.
Holy snikes, that's crazy. Weird Magic, that's a good one.
Yep.
All right. So who is this gaggle?
So this is
people?
one of several Blue Brotherhood pictures coming up, and that I have to give the shout out to the Blue Brotherhood. It's, my first from 2008 until I met Eric and Mike at True Dungeon Celebration in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't have a group. It was my kids, and we would, there were people who I knew from the forums or who I knew from volunteering and from buying tokens, that we would try to get into runs with. But I didn't really have sort of this family and I would always be a little bit jealous in the back of my mind when I would coach these groups who came in together, like Mike Steele's group all would come in together. And I was just like, boy, I wish I had a group like this. And then, when I met Eric and Mike and the rest of the gang, it was a smaller gang at that point in time. Now it's gotten big. I think you can see back there is my Blue Brotherhood apron that I got.
Oh yeah, cool.
So getting into the Blue Brotherhood and that group and having that consistent group to run with all the time really solidified how much fun I have in True Dungeon. So, and I know I'm getting sappy and I'm going to probably tear up a little bit, but it's
okay. This is a great group of guys.
This is one of the iterations of Blue Brotherhood, and I've got my Druid shirt that Eric does all this art and makes all these silhouettes for everybody. It's a great group of folks. And yes, there are women in the Blue Brotherhood. It's not just guys. We have 3, I think, right now. And so it's just a fun group of people to get to know and to have that kind of consistent group of folks that you can rely on. You get to know, each other's quirks, you talk outside of True Dungeon events. It's been really a great experience and has made playing True Dungeon even more fun than it was before.
Wow. So from left to right, name who. This is Paladin, right?
Yeah, Paladin, and then Jack of Trades, I think is what he goes by on the forum. That's Mike, our rogue, and then Luigi, our dwarf fighter, and then sitting down is Bob, who does either monk or wizard. Then me. This must have been from Gamehole Con, because we're in masks, and that was the first time I actually ever dressed up. So, and then Kelly, and then Eric is there with his awesome homemade
he always
helmet
makes stuff
that has the light on it and stuff. And then that was a run that Mongo was with us too.
Yeah, what a great group of guys. Now I don't see Edwin here because he's probably traveling somewhere, right?
Probably, yeah.
He's always traveling. So
yeah,
Edwin
I think he's in one of the other pictures we have.
Yeah, let's see if we can find him.
This was actually up at Gamehole Con doing RPEX, the first time that they were up there. Raven had sort of gotten us convinced to do that, I think, and that was a lot of fun.
Very cool. Let's see. Here's Edwin.
Yep, Edwin's in that one, and that was Kelly was actually one of the NPCs in that, and that's what she loves to do as a volunteer.
Really?
She does NPC stuff, and she does acting in community theater, here in town, following in her mom's footsteps. And so this was one of our Blue Brotherhood runs on the Path of Death.
Now, how do you guys, when you're in a Kelly room, or if Kelly is dragging you through, how do you interact with her? Do you try to keep it separated and she's the NPC, or do you poke fun at her or try to trip her up? How does that interaction go?
I don't know. I think we try to play it straight, but I don't think we succeed very well. I don't know. You'll have to see if I know you said Eric was in the chat. I can't see the chat, but I'll let them answer that question. Or Kelly, if she's. I don't know if Kelly made it or not.
Yeah,
but,
Kelly or Eric. Kelly, do they pick at you? Eric, do you guys keep a straight face? Yeah. All right. Cool.
I think we try to let her do her thing. That's another group. We had Mongo and his sons with us that time.
Very nice. By the way, so if people didn't know this, let me see if we can find a good photo. I guess this one might be the best one. Edwin is here in the center here. Edwin lives not too far away from me, and so we've did we have dinner before? I forget. But Edwin and Dan and I had dinner or breakfast or lunch or something at Origins. So I spent a little bit of time with both of them, and they're the sweetest, coolest people. And Dan, every time he emails me about whatever he's emailing me, he always says that he's the most handsomest of Blue Brotherhood. Now, do you agree with that, or is someone else more handsome?
You know, all the Blue Brotherhood are very attractive individuals. So
Okay.
I will plead the neutrality in
I
that one.
I see. So speaking of, I kind of know a lot of the different, like Paladin, obviously, right? So what character or class rather do you normally play on the group? In the
In
group?
Blue Brotherhood, I play the Druid. Typically, that's my favorite. I love Druid is sort of my primary love. They can do everything. And
Very
now
cool.
that I finally was able to transmute the necklace, the legendary necklace, I get to basically fail every time I try to attack as an elemental. It became like this running joke in Virtual True Dungeon. I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn as an elemental. Uh, it's gotten a little better recently, but
Oh
you
my
get to
God.
cast spells. I love the Druid. It's such a great versatile class.
It's super versatile. I typically play Barbarian. I think most people who know me know that. But with Synergy, we have a sealed group, and I love the sealed group. Like you were saying, in your first run, you just had the 10-pack, and you played and you trade. My favorite thing to do, like MomoCom is coming up, and I'm positive there's going to be lots of that there. I just love it. So in the sealed group, the tokens I pulled kind of lean Druid, so that's what I'm doing. It's kind of cool. You get to do spells, you get to heal.
Yeah.
So at least the baby Druid, it's fun. So I can't imagine keeping track of everything at the high level, but I'm sure that's cool.
Sealed runs are great, and I know that we did some red runs on Nightmare as a Blue Brotherhood, and that was fun. We've been talking about an all stalker run.
Oh, I did that. It's
with all
fun.
the stalker tokens. It sounds like a cool thing. So
Yeah. It's kind of powerful though, so you almost need to do hardcore. We kind of mowed through normal.
Okay.
Yeah, they're collectively. If you put a stalker token in every slot, it's quite powerful.
Okay.
All right,
Cool.
So
These are more Blue Brotherhood Mongo. So there's all this artwork, and you can basically put the Blue Brotherhood logo on almost anything in Redbubble. So Mongo got like the big tapestry. I got the much more practical kitchen apron. But this is Jessa. She's one of the other women in Blue Brotherhood, and Steven's over there, and and Matt Galambus is over on the right hand side. So just showing some of the iterations of all the different people.
Very nice. Very cool. Oh, this is a great photo. What's going on here?
This is SkullCon. This is our group. We decided to have everybody dress up in character for SkullCon, and it was a blast. I made Drew's baton. I ran out. It was fun and gave us some a good time. So we all dressed up. This was everybody. My son Jack joined us for this, and Carolyn is there with her bow and Gib Gub on her shoulder.
Yeah.
So it was a blast. We had a great time at SkullCon.
There's Gib Gub. What a great photo. What I love is if I like to see people's joy. Like you were saying that when you were talking about you go outside and you see people that you coached. I see that joy here in everyone's eyes and everyone's smiles. To me, this is a perfect example of happiness playing True Dungeon. So what a very cool photo to share. And what's going on here? Speaking of family members.
So that's us. That's Jack and Kelly and I still at SkullCon, but I knew that since she plays the bard in Blue Brotherhood, so I had to get her a ukulele for her Woodset's legendary loot, and Jack got a cool sword, and that's the baton that I made.
Wow, this is commitment, and again,
you can see our tabard. We also have you can see the little tabard hanging from my belt, the blue and black. That's our Blue Brotherhood tabard.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know there was like colors for the group. Oh.
Yep.
Love it. Very cool. We have some people here who are sharing their thoughts. Someone with a very odd name, John at True Dungeon, what an odd name, says, Gibgud sucks. However, in a retort, Gilfstrife says, woo, Gibgud for the win. And someone named Jeff Martin says, one of my favorite memories was the look on David's face when Will Wheaton came into the golden ticket run. He looked stunned and shocked. Too funny. Wow, he remembers that moment.
Yeah, that was great.
Oh, wow. So you both remember that moment. Gilfstrife says, SkullCon was my bard's first in-person run. He loved it so much. Wow, SkullCon, first one. That's a good one to be on. Speaking of SkullCon, what is going on in this photo?
So this, you changed photos. This must be why we were all smiling so much at the end of the dungeon, is because we got to meet the famous Trent.
Oh, I was so happy when I remember you guys coming in, and I'm pretty sure I came over and begged for a photo. So this is the result of the photo. Is that Luigi trying to look tough?
Yeah, Luigi is always trying to look tough.
What's going on here? I just noticed that. I guess every time I see this photo, I just look at myself. But I just noticed that Luigi's trying to look tough. Oh, what a handsome group here. Very, very cool. All right, so let's see. Now, what's going on here? What is this?
Well, I had to have it, you know. Somebody was putting out this super special box that was a limited edition, and, you know, that just sort of set my need to get a Trent token special box. So I sent off for a Trent token special box and got my lucky number 13 of 50.
That's right. Yeah, this is the Pirate Chest of Holding. You are 13 of 50. There's only 50 made, limited edition, and you can put all kinds of things in here. And remember,
the mimic said to tell you it's not a mimic.
All right. All right, so who's this?
That's Kelly. That's at SkullCon in that park that has all the castles and stuff. It was just, we had, you know, a couple hours in the afternoon, and so we went over there. I hadn't been there in a long time, and it was just really kind of cool to just see. It's such a neat little park, tucked away. You would never think that it was there, and it's really cool. So we spent a couple hours just relaxing there between runs.
Yeah, that is a cool place. And speaking of virtual, you mentioned that earlier. I wanted to ask you, how has play in virtual been? Because clearly we only played, in physical conventions, and for a while it was only one convention, then it was multiple conventions, and now then it was just virtual, and now it's virtual and physical. So how has all that transitioning been for you?
I've enjoyed it. I'm consistently impressed with how Jeff and the crew, come up with new things all the time and just continue to increase the quality of everything. It's been really fun because I get to see these guys a lot more. I get to see them every month and chat and catch up on how things are going. And I've really enjoyed, I've done some of the volunteering and been a virtual True Dungeon DM, probably every other one or so. I've been able to do either part or full time, and it's been a lot of fun. I get to do more storytelling as a virtual DM, which has been, I didn't know how much I would like that part of it, but I've really enjoyed it. And, luckily some of the other folks, whether it's Brandon or Andrew, have made such great sort of back end tools to help virtual DMs kind of really be able to focus on story and do less math in their head. That it's been really enjoyable to be a DM, but also just to play. It's been fun to have this sort of as a monthly thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're right. I never thought about it, but you're right. I feel like there is more time to kind of for the player to play and talk about their attacks, and also for the Dungeon Master to share their coloring commentary. Whereas in the physical, oftentimes you're like slide move, you gotta get that in there. Yeah, that's I guess that is one of the advantages. Obviously, the physical dungeons are amazing, so there's a con, but it's a little bit of a trade-off. Now, speaking of being a high-level adventurer, what is this?
Well, that's the benefit of having so much virtual True Dungeon is that everybody has skyrocketed up the XP boards. But yeah, I got, I think it was in the right before Gen Con or so last year. I got enough of the XP to get to 10th level, and so as as Jeff had created these amulets, they're really cool, and I love it. And came with the Tankard of Celebration, so I
Oh,
love
did it?
the
Oh,
fact
that's
that there's
cool.
always new things. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Well, I got a little ways before I hit this one, but I'm edging my way there. All right. So speaking of volunteering, do you remember what's going on here?
Yeah, this is the power crew. This is me and
Hmm.
George, um, as we're making sure that all of the cables get put. That's the map in my back pocket that
Hmm.
has all of where all the power cables and what gauges and what lengths are supposed to go to supply all the different lights and things. And so, Mike Lutz has been sort of the ringleader of that for years and years, and he's got his special cart that has all the doohickeys you might need.
I never knew there was a power crew who came out earlier. So look at the things we're learning.
Yeah, and
Uh,
we're always happy to have new people. It was really interesting last year at Gen Con. Mike couldn't make it, so Jeff sort of made me help wrangle everybody. And we had some
mhm.
really great people. We, John O and Spud and a few of the crew from Carbondale were there. And it was really kind of cool to kind of help everything. I just love bringing power to the dungeon. And since they have so much new and cool tech that they put in each
Oh
time we're
yeah.
in person, I think it's just really fun. And, and I don't know, I mean, I'm a gynecologist. I'm not an electrician. So it's been kind of fun to learn a little bit of electricity and what gauges I need and how much draw you can have. Luckily, there's some people that are much smarter in that than I am. Um,
Wow.
Mike Nagley is like incredible at helping figure out when we're going to overload a circuit. So it's been really fun. But I've enjoyed doing that power crew because it sort of gives me and usually I have my kids, particularly since Charlie is so tall. He helped us with it last year because we have to run a lot of things way up high.
Yeah,
So
that's great. That's great. We need more tall children, please. So, for
yes.
someone who's never volunteered before, what's I don't want to say pitch, but I guess it's kind of a pitch. What would you tell them to encourage them to at least give it a try?
Yeah, I would say no matter what you are good at, we can find a place for you as a
Hmm.
volunteer. If you like to dress up and act, you can be an NPC. If you want to help build things, you can come and be part of the local install crew and you can help build the dungeon. I think one of the things that I love is you get to see it kind of spring to life. I always love the pictures that Jeff and folks will post on Facebook of like this big empty exhibit hall, and
Hmm.
then how 8 hours later it's filled with walls and it's a dungeon, and
Wow.
it's just really cool. And if you like to decorate, that's what a lot of the Wednesday volunteers do is they're set
Hmm.
dressing and making all the little details that make you remember and make you love True Dungeon. All of those things spring to life. If you like to, be a DM in real life, you could be a combat DM, a puzzle DM in the dungeon. You can do coaching stuff if you like to bring things. You could be a coach assistant if you just want to kind of see what everything is like. There's blue hands. There's all sorts of things you can do behind the scenes. So you could just you could be at the bag check. We got to have somebody at the bag check all the
Hmm.
time. So there's all sorts of administrative and other roles that you can do. So I would say if you think about it, volunteer. You can. I mean, there are perks. I mean, I'm don't get me wrong, there are awesome perks. You get your 4-day your 4-day Gen Con badge. You can get a hotel room. You can get a stipend. You can get a free token. So, I mean, there are definitely benefits to volunteering. To me, it's the community. I mean, that's why I keep coming back. Is it's fun people to be with. The process of building and creating this thing that we all know and love, and that new people can come in and know and love. It's There's nothing like it.
Wow, very cool. I never thought about it that way. I tell people all the time when it comes to True Dungeon, from a player perspective, there's so many aspects to it. You could just play with a 10-pack every year, or start to collect over time, or be a crazy collector. And then there's all the different levels of collecting. Then there's the trading in between, and then there's the forums and the different other. I mean, there's just so many facets and so many ways that you could interact and play True Dungeon. And you just described the same thing from the volunteering side. So very cool. Thank you for sharing that. Now, this is more power stuff, I assume.
Yes, this is the radios. So all of the volunteers, when you're a coach and a DM, you've all got these radios and headsets that are in different dungeons, and they have to be programmed and all this stuff. And this was my frustration with the radios. I think one day somebody snapped this picture. This was a couple years ago though, and when Jeff told me I was going to be on that the power crew was going to be without Mike Lutz last year, the one thing I said is, just do not make me in charge of the radios and programming those things, because I will mess it up badly.
Oh.
So luckily I didn't have to do the radios last year. Just had to make sure they all had power, and that was it.
So you could literally have a woman and a child's life in your hands, but programming a radio, that's where you draw the line.
Yeah, I can give me a complicated delivery and birth any day. Don't make me program radios.
Unbelievable. That's very cool. Oh man, how funny is that? Speaking of Jeff, what in the world?
This is like one of my favorite pictures ever.
You're a St. Louis fan.
As you can see here, I born and raised in St. Louis. I am a diehard Cardinals fan. In fact, at this time next week, I will be in St. Louis at the Cardinals Blue Jays game.
Nice.
Jeff Martin, as many of you may know, is a diehard Cubs fan.
Yeah.
And so we always do a lot of good-natured ribbing with each other about Cardinals and Cubs. And at one point in time, I love going to Cardinals Cubs games in St. Louis, but I had never been to Wrigley Field. And Jeff then said, well, I'm going to take you to Wrigley Field. And so we got together probably 5 years ago now. And he got tickets for us to go to a game at Wrigley. I took the train up from Indianapolis because I hate driving in Chicago. I took the train up. We met. We went to a cool Cardinals Cubs game. It was kind of a rainy day, but it was a blast. And I thank him. I know, Jeff, you're on here. Thank you. It was really a cool day. And it's things like this, like that gesture, that are commonplace for a person like Jeff. He does this. All of us who are volunteers and players have these stories of how awesome of a human being Jeff Martin is. And this is how I justify my token collection to my wife. I say, here's what I'm doing. It's like when you buy Cub Scout popcorn.
Right.
You're making a donation to the Cub Scouts, and it kind of has popcorn that comes with us.
Yeah.
I'm making an investment in True Dungeon's community, and I just happen to get a whole lot of tokens for it. But I think that this group that Jeff has put together and the environment that has just exploded, it's so cool. And so thank you, Jeff, because this day really meant a lot to me. And so when Trent told me to send in pictures, I wanted to put this on so I could tell that story.
Very cool. I think everybody who has a Jeff story would agree with you. Man. And speaking of being a big Cardinals fan, who do we have
that
here?
was a couple of years ago for my 50th birthday. My parents are on the far left, and some of my aunts and uncles. I got a suite at Busch Stadium for my 50th, and brought a bunch of all of my family who are big Cardinals fans. And my sister is there next to Tanya.
Wow, that's awesome. I bet that was a great day for you. Speaking of the wife,
It was.
What is this?
Yeah, so that was our 25th reunion at Notre Dame. We met at Notre Dame, the first class of the first day of school. My dad always told me, at least if you go to Notre Dame, you have a better chance of meeting a good Catholic girl. So I was, we were both in the honors program up there, and so I knew I was going to spend a lot of time with these people in the honors program, so I went early to the first class so I could get a good seat and sort of scope out the people who were coming in. And I saw her, and I was instantly smitten. And my mom says I called her that night and told her I met the girl I was going to marry. I don't quite remember it that way, but I spent freshman year chasing her down, and then finally wore her down so that she would go out with me, and the rest is history.
Oh, what a beautiful story! Oh, I'm sure she loves hearing that. And speaking of Notre Dame,
yeah,
for those who don't know, what are we looking at?
That's the Golden Dome. That's the main administration building, and that we spent a lot of time there. And we still go up for some football games. We're going up for our 30th reunion in June, and it's a cool place for us. We couldn't get any of our kids to go there, but that's okay. We still get to go up and reminisce about the days in college.
I know the feeling. I tried to get my son to go to my alma mater. It didn't happen. Speaking of somebody being mean, Jeff Martin says, "Thanks, David, but the Cards still stink." So the
Cubs had a good off season. They made some good under the radar moves. We'll see.
I heard about that. Yeah. What is this?
Oh, that's my lovely wife. I don't know. People who know me know that I do a lot of talking about my wife because, as I said before, I'm so super lucky to have somebody who's so beautiful and talented who puts up with me.
I hear you there. Putting up with us is part of the battle. Now, they say children are our future. Now, who are we looking at here?
They are. So that's Kelly. And this is an older picture, but that's Kelly and Jared. And they're, as people, at least I know the Blue Brotherhood knows, but, as people, they have gotten engaged. So they're trying to figure out wedding plans. I keep trying to tell them that, we could probably work something out for a wedding in the dungeon, but I don't think they're, because Jared does play with us, but I don't think they're quite up for a dungeon wedding. But it'll be fun when they finally tie the knot. But they're really cute, and they've been dating since high school, so for a long time, and it's great. We love him like a son. He's really good, and he's good to her.
Wow, I wish them both much luck. In one of the more recent shows, I think you may have seen, there was like two paths. Perhaps we could do a dungeon where they're both on two separate paths, and if they survive each path, then the final room they could come together and get married there. So
sure,
just something to think about, Jeff and crew. All right, so those are all of our photos. If anyone has any questions in chat, go ahead and ask them now. I think we're going to be wrapping up. Let me check my questions here. Yes. So tokens. Do you have a favorite token?
I love a lot of tokens.
Okay.
Like I love my Druid Legendary now. But
yeah.
Honestly, I think the token that I like, almost there's two. I think one of the first transmutes I made was the old Shirt of Shielding, which initially I was like, I'm never ever going to use this. But recently it's come back now that there's all this retribution damage. So so that one, I really like the fact that I made that long ago. It was one of my early transmutes. Incognito sort of got me turned on to doing transmutes and things. But the other one that I really sort of have a special place in my heart for is, it's silly, it's a consumable uncommon, is the Hungry Heroes Feast.
Sure.
Because that was at True Dungeon Celebration. That was the token, one of the tokens that my group came up with in designing. So that's always, I've got like 2 or 3 of them that I've found that I keep. I'm never going to be, consuming them because it just kind of has a special place and that was something that was, again, super cool for Jeff to do. I know it was probably very efficient to have a whole bunch of other people designing tokens, but it was really cool to give us that sort of, experience of designing a token and then seeing, hey, this is a token I helped design.
Yeah, that was a very cool event. I can't remember if I emailed Jeff first or if I saw the post first, but about True Dungeon Celebration 2017. Either way, I emailed him first or I saw the post first. I think I would have said, if it was after, I was just thinking about emailing you and trying to do some type of tour of the warehouse. If that happened, I assume people who are local would come. I'm nowhere near local. I'm in New York, but I wanted to plan something like a summer or so ahead. And then, of course, the True Dungeon Celebration in 2017, where we saw the warehouse. We participated in a potential puzzle design and token design, and then we played. So it was awesome. That was a great moment. All right, so how about your treasure pools? I don't have great luck with treasure pools. I think it's because the dice gods say you have enough tokens. So what's your favorite pool? Do you have a favorite treasure pool?
I haven't really had any super awesome pulls, although I will say in February for the VTD, I ended up with the legendary cloak, which was like an older token and was awesome. It was like the only legendary I've ever pulled. I think probably my favorite pull I've seen was actually is so interesting. A cousin of my wife's who came up from Cincinnati to Gen Con probably a year or two before COVID. And he went on his first run and he pulled Charm of Avarice out of the treasure box. He was the guy. He was like my wife's cousin, which was, I think, really super cool. But I mean, I've had some decent pulls that have come out, but nothing like that. Wow. That would be like totally earth shattering.
That is crazy. But I mean, that cloak is an incredible pull, and Tom says congrats on the cloak.
Yeah, I was really excited about that.
That's +6 saves, right?
Yeah,
that's huge. I wear that cloak on my character. Wow, very cool. All right, so one of my last questions is there anything that we didn't cover that you would like to share with the group?
Boy, we covered an awful lot. I don't think so. We covered volunteer, play, get to know Trent, and lots of other token people. There have been a lot of people who help you in the beginning, and I think that's it's this community. It's getting to know Raven early in my volunteering career. It's walking down the street towards True Dungeon in 2008, talking to Eric Incognito about what this whole transmute thing is all about and what's true grind, and getting to know people like Ed who help you with tokens. I remember the first ultra rare that I traded for, I think, was with Mike Steele long ago. And just having so many cool people that want to be helpful and that want everybody to know and love this game and this experience like we do. So I think that's really I think the take-home message. It's a cool group. It's a place where you can nerd out and geek out without any reservations, and it's okay. It's a safe space for everybody to be and to express themselves.
Very well said. I think I was trying to communicate something similar earlier, but you are very well spoken and you just described exactly my point. But I would also say, and I'm sure everyone would agree, that you are doing that thing that you experienced early on. You are now doing that to a lot of people, especially with your coaching and volunteering. So kudos to you. And part of the reason that True Dungeon is continuing to be so successful is because of people like you continuing to pay that forward. So thank you very much for paying that forward, and thank you very much for being on the show. I really do appreciate it. This has been a super informative and very fun experience for me, and I hope everyone in the chat and all the people who watch this later really enjoy themselves. So David, I want to say from my heart to yours, thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you at the next virtual or physical convention.
Absolutely. I think I'm doing a run with you at MomoCon.
Oh, yes, that's right. We're going to do Friday night, I think.
I think so, yeah. Oh. Yeah, I'm volunteering for the rest of the con.
Right.
But going on at the end of the night run.
Until then, that's
That'll
right.
be
I got
fun.
the last run. Cool. Well, I will see you there in person. And thank
Definitely.
you again. And I hope you have a good day. And I hope everybody really enjoyed the show. Wait, before I sign off, Joshua says, "Hey, sorry, just got here." Joshua, you're late. Oh my God. You have to hit rewind and watch it all. He says, "I wanted to get a question in. Do you know when Toko..." This is a question for me. Do you know when token capsule binders are going to be back in stock?
But that's
David,
a good question.
Do you know when those are going to be back in stock? Joshua says, sorry. Thank you for that question, Joshua. I know I do need to reorder binders. I will be ordering them soon. Feel free to email me at trent@trenttokens.com as a reminder and tell me what color you're looking for. So, David, I'm glad you got that last question. So
I'm really glad we got that. It's important to answer questions for Josh too.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you very much, and I will see you again soon. Thanks
Definitely.
again, David.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Bye, buddy.
Bye-bye.
All right, there you have it. That was David Haas, amazing human, very kind and generous soul who shared his heart, his love of True Dungeon, his love of family, his love of his real world job, and none of it surprised me because it was all from his heart, and he's one of the reasons that True Dungeon is great. And for all of you out there, I would encourage you to be like David, right? When you get t-shirts printed up, be like David. If we continue to share that kind of love with all the new people in True Dungeon, they're going to share that same kind of love in the future for the people that they meet. So just keep paying forward that kind of love. And speaking of love, spread the love for the show as well. Do the algorithm stuff, clicking, liking, subscribing, and all that other good stuff. It's good for the show. I really do appreciate it. And I thank you very much for watching the show. Until next time, remember, it's really hard to frown if you're smiling, so smile.